I was hoping to have the conversation today. It didn't work out, so here we are, number two, and it's just me. I wanted to talk a little bit about fear, and related to a couple things. One is I mentioned to a friend that I was interested in getting a scuba license, and he asked some questions, and I made some kind of comment about how when our family took a trip to Orlando, Florida, a few years ago, after visiting the theme park. Why do I always draw a blank on that? Universal Studios. We wanted to go to the beach. I think we just did like a Google map. What is the nearest beach? And we went there and had a day basically at the beach. Maybe not even that long. Maybe just a few hours. And I can't remember the name of the beach right now. But then we drove back to Oklahoma, and I remember, I think like it was exactly a week later, I read in the news that at that beach, a young boy, I think like a 10-year-old boy, was attacked by a shark. And, the fear of sharks, which was heightened by the movie Jaws when I was a kid, it terrifies people. Anyway, so I made some kind of comment to this friend about sharks, and what I didn't know was that he is a big scuba guy, and he kind of shared both his personal experience with sharks and just kind of in general. Sharks apparently smell or sense iron in blood, and the greater the concentration. And this is all from this friend, so I haven't done I haven't verified the facts. I don't know if this is accurate, but this is what this guy said. Is that they can sense the iron in the blood. Okay, he tells a story. He's with a dive buddy, and they're doing some spearfishing, and that friend who he's watching accidentally cuts his finger, and when he raises his finger, there's a little trail of blood coming up into the water, and he looks beyond his friend, and he sees like 30 to 60 feet away a bunch of sharks turn, and that far away, right, almost instantaneously, they can sense the blood. And I can't remember, I think he said they were only like 20 feet down. So what the friend did was he just closed his hand so that the blood, would not be exposed. He put it to his chest, and then my friend, linked arms with his friend, and they slowly ascended to the top, not in a frantic way. Because apparently, in addition to the sensing blood, any kind of movement like that of something in distress also is something that attracts him. But he said, sharks, although they can get into a frenzy if there's, blood, and they become senseless and they just attack. But normally, particularly because the two, he and his friend linked up, they were a bigger creature. And the sharks had fear. And I remember watching underwater videos where the sharks kind of circle around, and every once in a while one will kind of get closer. And he described it as almost like a wolf pack. And they're trying they're hungry and they want to eat, but they're also afraid of getting hurt, and so each one's kind of daring to get a little bit closer. But he said, I don't know, I think he said he's been diving for 20 years, and he's never been afraid of sharks. And when he kind of described it like that, I thought it was interesting. I've never really been, frightened to the point that I wouldn't get in the ocean. I love going to the beach, but I mean, you can't help but be scared by those mammoth, particularly great whites, and the way that they, if you've seen those slow motion videos, Planet Earth or whatever, where they used a high speed camera to show as they breach, they come up and grab seals, whatever, and just, it just, and they do attack people. And I don't know if all attacks are related to people swimming in a kind of a fluttery way, or they always have an open wound. I mean, that'd be interesting to see if there's anybody that was just normally just, sitting there. Would they attack? That's the question. Anyway, so that's related to the fear of sharks. Okay, then let me turn the camera around. I don't know if you can see. That is a ball python that I got, I think, about 5-6 years ago. I was never interested in snakes. Had no thought of ever owning a snake, but also was never really that afraid of snakes. Why? But anyway, a neighbor at the end of our street was having a garage sale, and he had 2 fluorescent poster board signs that said like ball python, 4 feet long. I can't remember the price, $120, let's say. And then there was a boa constrictor, and different color poster, and it had its price there. And this garage sale was over at least 2 weeks. I remember 2 weekends, and I would drive by and look at those signs. Well, one day I stopped to just see what they had at the garage sale. And I ended up buying a book, and I came home, and too much detail. So, cut to the chase. I ended up with a snake. Okay, and when I brought the snake home, none of the boys nor Hannah wanted the snake, but they're like, it's your home as well as our home, and if you are going to take care of it, then you have as much right to bring in a pet as we do. So I brought it in, and there's a really funny story that happened related to the snake that I will tell at a different time. But what I'm bringing to this point is there is something innate in nature related to snakes. And I've seen some documentaries about animals, and even if they've never encountered a snake, just the shape of the snake and the movement of the snake causes a kind of a reaction. And I say that because... I'll just grab, his name is Houdini. Just a second, I'll pick him up here. Hey, buddy. Come here, it's okay. Let me grab you. Oh, yes, you are. Oh. Okay. So, when I went to the garage sale, so Hannah asked, did they buy, when I showed her I bought a book from the garage sale, she said, did they sell the snakes yet? Because she had also seen the signs. And I was like, I don't know. I'll go see. So I drive back down there and I say, hey, did you guys sell the snakes? And he's like, no. You want to see him? And we walk in, and it's in a giant aquarium. He kind of just quickly takes the top off, reaches his hand in there, grabs him, and puts him on his neck just like I just did. And if you've never handled a snake before, you think, man, that guy's like really brave. But he tells me, if you're going to get one of the 2 of these snakes, I would recommend this one because it's very used to people. It's very docile. It's never tried to snap at us or anything. The other boa constrictor, which was actually a more beautiful snake, even though this one is pretty awesome. That one was one of those yellow albino looking boa constrictors. And he said that one, for whatever reason, has kind of tried to nip at people. It's never, they're constrictors, so they don't have venom. They don't, that's not how they kill. They don't bite, but they may like grab and then they constrict. That's what pythons do, and that's what um, boa constrictors do. And this guy had got them. He was a tattoo artist. He was moving to Texas, where apparently the market for tattoo artists was the pay level was higher. And both of those snakes he had gotten from different customers who had traded their snakes for his art. And so who knows the story behind the yellow snake and why it was a biter and the other one isn't. But anyway, so now I've had the snake for it's been like 5 years, and it's never tried to bite me. Well, one time when I was trying to lower a microwaved, or not microwave, a frozen fish, a frozen mouse that I had warmed up in warm water, and then as I'm dropping it in, it smelled the mouse, and it tried to strike the mouse, and it didn't. I mean, it was just, that's the only time it even came close to doing that in my direction, because the way you normally feed them is you have a live mouse or rat, you take out everything else out of the aquarium, and then you drop the live rodent in there, and he's going for food, because the snakes aren't biting because they're mean or they're mad, or they're hungry. And all of that to say is, sometimes I've taken Houdini, and you'll at some later point find out why we call him Houdini, or if it's a him. I don't even know if it's a guy or a girl snake. But sometimes I'll just put them on my neck like I just had them, and I'll walk around the block. Sometimes I go places, and the outright reaction of fear of some people is, to me, it's bizarre. Okay, so all of that to say, we all are affected by fear and anxiety, and being in the healthcare realm, the way they define anxiety is it's a fear of, it's not a specific fear. So if you have a fear of something, like a fear of snakes, or because I don't know the name of that one, but the fear of spiders is arachnophobia, right? Phobia is the fear, and then arachna, I don't know if that's Latin or Greek. You're afraid of spiders. If your fear is just something, a vague fear of the future, not having a specific thing it's attached to, that is anxiety. And in my experience, it's possible to live your life being steered, being directed by your fears. So instead of pursuing what you want to do in life, doing what you want to do in life, instead you're like trying to avoid certain things because you're afraid of them. And I'll give you an example from my personal experience. I used to hate, for multiple reasons, I used to hate being the center of attention, and as such didn't like public speaking, which is, according to some poll of Americans, the number one fear is death. Number two is public speaking. So, most people, I don't know why most people are afraid of talking in public. For me, it was just like, I don't want people to be paying attention to me. I don't want to be the center of attention. It wasn't so much like I was afraid. I was concerned that wouldn't know what to say. It wasn't really that much. It was just, and I've to this day, well, actually, a little bit in the recent year, I would say, I'm starting to make some progress in this matter of public speaking and the fear of it. And all I wanted to say, it's because it started going almost 16 minutes, is that I would hope that in my life, that I would not be directed by fear, but rather identify things that cause me anxiety or fear, and consider, is this a rational fear? Is this rational? Like, if you're afraid, the fear of heights is something that's rational because it's possible to fall and to get harmed or to die. That's why we have a fear of heights. And if you're not afraid of heights, why am I wearing my glasses? I just realized there's a big reflection, and I don't need to have that on. So some people, because of the body's response to fear, which is adrenaline, some people, they really pursue in their spare time, their hobbies, things that give them that kind of rush. And I haven't talked to my oldest son, Noah, who in the last 6 months or so got into rock climbing. And I was never really interested in rock climbing, but we came back for Thanksgiving, and he belonged to a climbing gym. And I had friends that have been doing this for decades. I've done it myself, and it's not like I'm a fear of heights. I like roller coasters. I like standing on tall buildings and looking down. I have no problem with that. But never had really any interest in climbing. Anyway, we went climbing and really enjoyed it. Starting to do it. Well, now my son is getting into caving or spelunking. I guess the more modern term is caving. I'll have to ask him what is the difference between that. I'm really hoping he'll be my first conversation while we're still here before we go back to North Carolina. But he's a person who also doesn't like to be the center of attention. So I'm not gonna force him to participate in a conversation he doesn't want to be in. Okay, I'm gonna wind it down. I'm gonna have none of these things be more than 20 minutes. That's my plan. The individual ones, the conversations, I hope will just go as long as need be. That's one thing I appreciate about the pattern of Joe Rogan, who, if you don't know, was a comedian. He was a mixed martial arts guy, practitioner, and now ringside announcer. And I think to this day, and maybe forever, will be the highest paid podcaster. He had like $110 million deal, I believe, by Spotify to move to their platform. And I believe the attraction of him is that he's pretty centrist. He's not right or left leaning. And he has a curiosity that enables him to engage many guests from all different backgrounds. And he has these long conversations. Because if you notice the trend, it's not even a trend, it's almost been since the inception of TV. It's all about short sound bites, short things, because time is money. But he will sit down with people for 1, 2, 3. I think I remember listening to one that was maybe 4 hours, And they're fascinating because he's talking to people that are like specialists in certain areas that I have no knowledge of. And he draws out their field. Okay, I'm at 20 minutes. I'm not even sure what I'm talking about. Oh, because in my conversations that I hope to do not many of these talking at the cameras. I want to do more, or a lot of me just talking with a person without us hopefully even becoming almost not conscious that that it's being recorded. That would be ideal. But obviously you have to have the consent of the person, and there are technical sides of it. I'm holding the camera right now. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it with somebody. But anyway, I'm definitely wrapping this up because I don't want it to go to 21 minutes. All right, so there are rational fears and there are irrational fears. And I would like to identify in my life things that are controlling my behavior that are perhaps irrational and are limiting my experience.